Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
We can see Ritesh.
Okay, cool. So let's continue with our visualization discussions. So we kind of seen the insights and exact use case of the column chart as well as bar chart yesterday. Now, similarly, we will see few more insights related to few visuals today, what these visuals try to convey, what is the exact idea behind usage of this visuals. I mean, what kind of data is best fit for the other visuals. Now, getting started with, see, if I go back to the yesterday's discussion, we might have seen the clustered column chart, we might have seen stacked column chart, we might have seen 100% stacked column chart. But one important aspect which we haven't discussed is, see, up till now, we have only seen one categorical data and one numerical data. Now, let's say if we have a date data type, anything related to date, can we use the date column in our visuals? I mean, in order to see the year over year growth or year over year sales, even date is a possible condition. We can use date in certain visuals as well. But what that date is signifying, whether date it's a categorical value or whether dates it's a numerical value. Let's take this visual, profits by region. I'll take it to a new page. So here we have a region as a categorical data in x-axis. We have sum of profit, which is a numerical data. Profit itself is a numerical data, which is conveying it in y-axis. And we have a kind of filter condition, a filter in the sense a partition condition here in the segment, the legend. Now let's come down to our visualization only. Now here, if you see, there is no anything mentioning of date data type. Now here in our sample superstore, we have a column called as shipment date. We have a column called as order date. Now, if I take this order date or shipment date, either of the date, let's see how a visual will behave. Because even date conditions are also used in the visuals, and I mean, that are important. The date columns are also much important. Now, let me remove region here, the categorical value. I'm trying to remove the categorical value in x-axis, and I'll try to take any date time column. Now, for date time column, for few of you, you will get this date time column like this, where you will get a drop down, and under drop down, there is a date hierarchy. If I again extend this, multiple options are available. It is irrespective of column. How is it possible? See, here we are in the report view. If you want to see the table view, if you want to see the column, what all values are present in this order date, let's come down to the table view. It might look like a Power Query window, but it is not a Power Query window. This is slightly different. This is not a Power Query window. Now, if I see here, if I scroll down towards here only itself, I guess the third column and shipment date, see, here the columns are clearly mentioned what is order date, what is shipment date. There is straightforward date which is mentioned 28th of August 2017, 4th of September 2017. That means the values are straightforward present. But how does this Power BI engine assume that in date hierarchy, there is a year, there is a quarter, there is a month, and there is a day. All four conditions which are available for a date data type are visible here in Power BI, irrespective of whatever date column you take. Now, if you mention date time, see, in table view, you always have a flexibility. You can click on any column and you can change how do you want to display that data. Now, what is it? I'm in the order date. In the order date, if I pour or if I click on this, if I specifically highlight this specific column, here you will get few options. You can change your name here. You can double click here on the column name also to change the column name, or else you can change the column name from here. You have an option here. You can change the data type as well. You can change the data type as well. It is similar like your transform. If I click on this transform, it opens the Power Query window. In Power Query window, it is specifically cleaning of data. It is more a kind of cleaning of data where we can change the data types or we can clean the data. But here in the front end, if I go back to the table view, what is the exact criteria here? You can only change few data types, nothing apart from that. How do you want to display the data and what is the data type? Or probably you can change the data type also. So if you want, you can change it to date time. So if you see here, if I change it to date time, time will also be reflected. Now, as of now, I might have changed it to date time, but there is no time which is getting reflected. Now, why is it so? Towards right, there is one more option, which is formatting. If I go back to this formatting, you will get multiple date related options. How do you want to display your date? Now, I have selected date and time. Probably I can select this general date. So you can see time is also getting reflected. Either if it would have been only date also, let me change back to the date and I'll come down. See, if it would have been only date, there is no time option available here in the format. So depending on what kind of data type you're selecting for that specific column, you have a flexibility. You can change the format of the data which you want to display. There is long date, there is short date. There are multiple options. How do you want to display your data? Now, irrespective of whatever format is getting selected, again, I'll come down to the report view. If at all it's a date or if at all it's a date time column, you will get this date hierarchy automatically available in Power BI. Now, for few of you, if this option is not available, I mean, if you are only able to see order date column like straightforward all other columns, for any data, if I load any data, in that specific table. Now, tables here in Power BI are called as data sets. They are not called tables. Once you load a table, once you load a query, for that one particular query, if you're loading certain amount of data, that specific data is called as a data set. So you should get used to this word. What do you mean by data set? Data set is nothing but a certain table or a certain logic which you have pulled into Power BI, which is getting some data. So for this sample Superstore data set, you can see every column has certain icon. For category, there is no icon. That means it's a categorical or a string value. Wherever you find a numerical data, you will see this summation symbol. This is a summation symbol available. So discount is a numerical data, postal code is a numerical data, profit is a numerical data, row ID sales. So wherever it's a numerical data, you will find this summarization symbol. And wherever it's a date time, you can see a calendar is getting reflected, a calendar like icon. So it is very easy to guess what all columns are, what kind of data type they are assigned to. Now, for a few of you, order date might not look like a date hierarchy. It will just look like a category or a city column, which is nothing but a categorical data, a string data. Now, in that case, what is the possible condition? I'll go back to the file. I'll go back to options and settings, go to the options. It will open that new window. Now here in this new window, let us go to the preview features. Let's see, where is this option available? See, now if you are working on a specific file, in that case, you have to come down to this current file option. Or if you want to change the settings for complete Power BI desktop, go to the above option. The other above options are global options. Now here in data load or here in data load, there is an option time intelligence, which is auto checked in. For few of you, this might not be auto checked in. That is the case if you are not able to see order date as a date related column only like a string value. In that case, this option is not checked in. Now, how does it look alike? Let me uncheck this. It will take some time. Now, if you see order date and shipment date, both are looking like a categorical data. This could be possibility when the option of auto time intelligence is not enabled. And that happens. That is common with any installation. While installing, sometimes Power BI desktop is installed in such a way that few of the options are not enabled. or few of the options are not checked in default. So you have to go back to your file, click on settings, click on options, and you have to select this data load. In both the conditions, globally as well as for the current file which you're working, I would always recommend to select in both the conditions, auto date time, check this. For data load in the global also, auto date time, check this and click on OK. See, sometimes it will take time. For me, it is very fast, probably just because my cache is very fast, or maybe my RAM is getting the information correctly. For few of you, it might take 15 to 20 seconds or 30 seconds as well. So you have to wait. Now you can see the order date and shipment date are back to the normal date type condition, and we'll get the date hierarchy. Now, what is the primary use case of this date hierarchy is, see, even though your order date is somewhat like this, even though your order date, where date is mentioned, where month, complete month string value is mentioned, and there is a year which is mentioned. If you want to get this information here, now what I want to check profits by each year. If I take this year, see profits by each year. Now I'll go back to formatting. I'll go back to general. I'll go back to this title, profit by year. Let's remove that region confusion here. Profit by year is our title. This is how the data will look like. I have only dragged and dropped year. If I drag and drop complete date hierarchy, this is how it will look like. I'm dragging and dropping complete date hierarchy. In that case, it will get year, it will get quarter, it will get month, and it will get day as well. For now, do not go all, I mean, it is not recommended to take all these conditions. If you take all these conditions, there are some additional icons which are visible here. If I remove this, so you can see only three icons which are default available. One is this focus mode. One, you will get more options, which we would be exploring this. And one is some filter condition. Filter condition means this filters, these filters. Now we are here to touch this filter. But if I take the complete date hierarchy, it is getting some additional icons. Now, these additional icons are somewhere related to your advanced Power BI, where drill up, drill down, your drill through conditions are mentioned. We will be discussing all this when we have a good understanding of all the visuals. But if I take this complete date hierarchy, you will get multiple options here, which is not recommended as of now. So I would recommend always go with either of the options. Either you go with single year, either you want single month, you can go with single month. Now, if I take this single month, it is irrespective of year. It is taking for all the years January, all the years February, all the years March. But anyways, our month is a categorical data. We can directly see it's a string value. But if I take a year, I'll take a year and I'll remove month. Year is, it might look like a numerical data. It's a numerical data. 2016 is a numerical value. 17 is a numerical value. If you take any date which might look like a numerical data, but it will never behave like a numerical data, it will always behave like a categorical data only. What do you do with this year? If you're taking this 2016, this will look like a numeric data, but this is of no use. It will be always considered as a categorical value or a string value. If you're working in Power BI, if you're taking anything related to date and time, that conditions are always considered as a categorical data, not as a numeric data type. So here, 2016 is a categorical value, 17 is a categorical value, 18 is also categorical value, and 19 is also categorical value. So irrespective of whatever discussions we had, if you take this condition, the same condition which I'm trying to repeat, this condition, here in case of y-axis, now this is a bar chart. We were looking around the stacked column chart. If I change it to bar chart, only the axis changes. In case of y-axis, the years are coming. Now here, one more option. It is starting from 2019, 2019, 18, 17, 16. I want from 2016 to 2019. This is how I want. Vice versa, I want. Click on this more options. See, if I click on this more options, there are a few options available here. Now, what is this show as a table? Whatever information we have dragged and dropped into this visual, that information would be changed into a table format. That is the only difference here. And it is highlighted in the focus mode. You can see this is highlighted in the focus mode. Now I'll go back to the report. You will come down to that normal view. Export data means whatever table it has created, it will export that data. You can download a CSV file from that. Now, if I click on this export data, so it will ask me to store some information. It's a kind of CSV file, profits by year. Whatever information we are trying to take in this visual, that information would be exported as a tabular format CSV file, a table format CSV file. These informations are not much of use. Probably if you're working on a visual where the amount of data is very high, you can export that data. For your certain analysis, for your manual analysis, you can do that. Now, what do you mean by spotlight? See, somewhere it is getting all this information. Somewhere it is getting all this information. I'll go back. After spotlight, remove means it will remove this visual. After spotlight, there is one more column or one more option available, sort legend. Okay, now what it is sorting? It is only sorting legend value. It is not sorting X and Y axis. Let's see what does this sort mean. If I sort it by descending, that means values which are at the highest level will come at the last bar. The legend information, the partition data, segment is the partition here. So whatever partition it is trying to do, if I have sorted by descending, whatever values are at the highest level, they are coming at the last condition. Now, if I change it to sort by ascending, lowest values will come at the last bar, the last partition. And here in case of bar chart, sort by legend is the only option. There is no sort by x-axis. There is no sort by y-axis. I want to sort this 2016, 17, 18, 19, either from 2016 till 2019. That option is not available here. Yes, we would be exploring that. But prior to that, let's understand what all options are available in this more options. What all conditions are available in this three dots, which is more options for each and every visual. Now, if I go back to the column chart also, you will get few options here. Here also, there is only sort legend. Now, you can sort by descending or else you can sort by ascending. And if you see, whenever I add a legend, that means whenever I have a partition condition for a stacked bar chart, stacked column chart visual, if I go to format your visual, here in format, if I come down, if you go to this legend, the legend option is enabled. If I remove something, I'm unchecking the segment column from legend. I'll go back to the format. Legend option is not enabled. This is completely disabled. Why? Because there is no legend available. Now, if I come down to the visual again, I'll get that segment. I'll go back. Legend. You have a flexibility. Let me come down. See, you can change the title text of a legend also here. Now, where do you want that legend to be visible? It is default top left. You get top center. You get top right. Now, you don't like anywhere above. You want towards left or right. Towards left it is coming. Towards right it is coming. You want it at the bottom, bottom left. So there are multiple options where you want to display your legends. And if you're not satisfied with the color combination which is available, come down to the columns. Let's see. For all I have selected, for consumer I'm selecting. For consumer, you can see it's a blue color. You don't like this color, change your color. Whatever color you want. Now these colors are kind of totally different. One is kind of brownish shade, one is dark blue or navy blue, one is sky blue. I want every color to be in a lighter format. Probably consumer has the highest sales, so he should have a darker color. This consumer segment should have a darker shade. So probably I'll go with a darker shade here. Let me use this one. Now I'll come down to the corporate. I can change the shade to somewhat lighter. Again, I'll select the home office, which has the lowest profit. I'll go back and I'll change some lighter shade. Now, With the previous color, this color, let me go back. Where is it? With this color, let's take a copy of again. I will take this here. If you compare both the visuals, see, if you share this visual representation with any client, the first and foremost thing, what among these two visuals will make an impact is client will never ever go with different shades. He will always go with the one single particular color shade. This visual profits by year, which we have seen with three different shades. The color is same, the shades are different. But here colors are also different, including shades. One is lighter tone, one is darker tone, and one is slightly different. The color itself is changing. So client or the person who is trying to look at the visual representation, he will always go with the left visual, which is more easy, which is more, I mean, intuitive to our eyes, easy to understand. So it is always recommended to use a darker to lighter shade, and darker signifies the highest. Darker is signifying the highest sales or highest profit here. So color combination, use of colors, it is always recommended. Now one advantage which we have got here in case of date time, there is only one axis which we are able to see, which is legend axis. Why? Because year is a categorical data. And there is no option available to sort. I want to sort 2019 should come here and 2016 should come at the last. That option is not getting enabled, or that option is not there in the sorting. But if I go to this, the second visual, this is also profits by, okay, this is anyways profits by region. If I click on this more option, here I am getting two sort options. Why? Because sorting legend is there. Again, you have an option sort axis. Now, what axis you want to sort? Region or sum of profit? Now, I want to sort it by region. Now, what it has sorted? I guess it's sorting by descending. That means, see, I have done sorting by region. Sorting by region means the it is descending order. So W will come at the last, S will come at the second last, E is third last, and C. So C is coming at the first condition. Why? Because you have used, I mean, the last condition. Why? Because you have used sorting by region descending. If I change it by ascending, central will come first. Why? Because alphabetically C is coming first. In case of date, there is only one option available, which is sort by legend. Neither x-axis, neither y-axis can be sorted. Whereas if I take categorical data and numerical data, in that case, you will get multiple sorting options. Even x and y-axis can be sorted. Now, I want to sort it by sum of profit. I have changed it to sum of profit. Wherever profits are high, that profits are at the last location, which is sort by descending. If I, okay, which is sort by ascending, it changed. So minimum is coming first. Now, if I change by as descending, wherever the profits are high, it is coming at the first condition. So irrespective of whatever column you're trying to take, in case of date time column or in case of date column, there is one option which is not available as sort by X or Y axis. There is only sort by legend. Whereas in case of categorical and numerical data, you will get sorting of axis as well. Now, in case of this, I'll change the order date to month, not by year. In case of month, month is a categorical data or a string data. Now you will get an option sort by axis. You can select any specific column. And how do you want to sort it? Usually sorting is not recommended in case of months because ideally it starts from January 1st. Now in that case, I can sort by ascending. This is how the information is there. And big question, if I'm using a sorting, sort by month, sort by ascending and descending, why is it not sorting by the alphabetical values? Alphabetically, A should come first, April should come first, but it is not getting sorted by alphabets. Why? Because month is coming from a date hierarchy. Power BI engine is smart enough to understand that month should be always starting from January and it should always end with December, even though you are using a sort by month ascending or descending. So that is one advantage of using the order date. Now I'll go back to the file. I'll go back to options and settings, click on options. I'll uncheck this option, the data load auto intelligence option. I'll click on OK. That option is gone. See, you will not be able to see anything here just because order date will work like complete order date. You will get all the information starting from 2016. I mean, whatever date you have till the last date, which is mentioned in that column, 2008, 20, it seems 20 or 21, 2019. So whenever you are using a date time column, it is always recommended to go with this date time intelligence. If at all it is unchecked, you're not able to see that calendar icon, go back to your options and settings, current file, data load, oh, sorry, data time option. And in case of global also, it is recommended to use in case of global as well. Auto date time for new files, date time for new files here also. Click on OK. That date conditions will come back again. Now we kind of seen the insights related to sorting of access, sorting of legend. See, sort access is not available in case of date or date type. Only in case of categorical data. Wherever the data is string, there it is coming. But here date will also act like a categorical value. So always whenever you're using a date, it will always act like a categorical value. And you cannot use date in the other axis. In x-axis we are using, if you use that date condition here, in case of sum of profit, I'll take date here. I'm trying to take date here. See, it will not even take that date. Now here, if I take the count, I mean, order date at the, not date hierarchy. If I'm dragging and dropping date hierarchy, it will not take. But if I take this complete column, it will take count of order date. So this is of no use. Even though you are pulling a date column, it is taking as a numerical data in case of y-axis. Same goes with stacked bar chart. In x-axis, it will take like a count of order date. So it is not recommended to use date in the numerical column or numerical axis. Wherever it's a numerical data, use numerical data. Do not go and use string or any date time column. Now I'll go back to the column chart, remove this, take profit. Looks good. Now the same conditions, best fit is D signifies date time. Now I would be creating an Excel for this. Do not worry. For now, I might have created or I might have noting it on the notepad itself, but I would be creating a separate Excel where I would be mentioning all these details. So what does this C signify? It's a categorical data. Categorical or a string value. Now what is this D signifying? It's a date or probably date time, both date time condition. Now this N is signifying numerical data. And is there anything? No, nothing apart from this. These three. Now let me come down. In case of stacked bar chart, y-axis can be used with 1D. It will act like a categorical data. In case of clustered bar chart as well. If I again go back to the visual, in case of clustered bar chart as well, I'll go back to this clustered bar chart. Still, you can see you can use a date condition as well in clustered bar chart. It will create a cluster, bunch of values clubbed together in one single cluster. And same goes with clustered column chart. There isn't any problem here. So either of them you can use whenever you're using stack bar chart, stack column chart, cluster bar chart, clustered column chart. Both conditions will support date time. And even if you check the 100% bar chart as well. For this complete 2019, what is the overall performance of consumer, corporate, and home office? By 100%, it is time to give you the bifurcation. So date time condition can be used wherever you feel it's a numeric, it's a kind of categorical value, not a numerical value. Wherever you feel a categorical value can be taken, there you can take your date condition. That works like a categorical type only. Now let me mention date type in all the conditions. It will remain same. Only in case of C, you can use 1D. That column chart. Here also you can use date. Here in clustered column chart, in x-axis, you can use date condition in case of categorical. Now this looks good. Now we might have seen importance of this more options, sorting options which are available here. How can we sort the data? How can you show it as a table? How can you export that data? So these options are somewhere important as well. Now, one more important aspect which we would be discussing is filters. Now, what do you mean by filter? See, filter tab should be always kept open. Open in the sense this tab should be always enabled. Now, if this tab is not enabled for few of you, as I've told, you can go back to this view option. If at all this is not checked in the show panes, if the filters pane is not checked in that case, filter option would not be available here. Recommended, click on this. You will get that filter option enabled. Default, it comes up with the update itself whenever you install it. But few of the times, if you're not able to get it, go to your view option in the ribbon bar, show panes, filter option. Now, anyways, we are in the view tab. If you're working on any reporting purpose, and if you create this kind of small visual, and you're getting confused whether this visual is correctly, I mean, the size of the visual is correctly done, or the formatting of this visual, the size of the visual is correctly been upgraded or not. In that case, if you're getting confused, in the view tab itself, in the page options, there is one more option which is called as grid lines. Now, what do you mean by grid lines is, go back to your schooling days when you have started your schooling career, might be your the lower kgs or upper kgs, uh, prior to your first standard, you might be using the square books, double line books, square books, in order to make sure your handwriting is correctly mentioned in that specific box. Now, if you're very new to Power BI and if you are getting confused whether the visual is pixel perfect, whether it is correctly upgraded or not, the size of that visual is correct or not, in that case, it is always recommended to use a grid line option enabled in the view tab. If I check this, you will get background grid lines. Now, with these grid lines, you can check whatever the size. Okay, now the size looks small, probably. Here I can set up like this, and it is getting matched with the border as well. Now this looks good. So you can use your grid lines. You can enable this grid lines option if you're very new to this Power BI to make sure your visuals are correctly fit into the size of that visuals. It will help us. I mean, grid lines are much important. If you're very new to Power BI, now you can see the visual has correctly fit into these boxes. Now, if you're very pro, uncheck this option. Pro in the sense you can automatically manage, but if you're new to this, recommended is go with grid lines. It will definitely make an impact. Now coming down to the filters, what do you mean by filter? Let me remove this. What do you mean by filter? And in case of filters, there are three different filters which are available in Power BI. What is filter? I mean, the first visual or the first filter condition is filter on a visual. Second condition is filter on a page. Third condition is filter on all the pages. Now, what do you mean by filter? The word itself is signifying, the word itself is giving you an idea. Filter means it will try to filter some data. And whatever columns you're trying to take for this visual, I've taken y-axis, I've taken x-axis, and I've taken legend. Now, let me go back to normal stat bar chart. In this case, whatever columns you drag and drop, that all columns would be automatically available in the filters for that visual. For that visual. Now people will come up with a question that I am unable to see filter on this visual. Only if you click on this white space, you are not clicking on any specific visual. If you're clicking on the white space of a report, filter on page, filter on all the pages. Only these two filters are visible. Why? Because you haven't selected any visual. If you select a visual, filter on that visual will also be enabled for you. Now, what do you mean by filter on visual? See, whatever columns you have taken, if you want to filter something. Now, I don't want consumer. I only want corporate and home office. I want a comparison between corporate and home office, not consumer segment. In that case, you always have a flexibility. Go to the column. I mean, go to whatever column you have dragged and dropped. Here, you will get few options. One is basic filtering. See, it also changes. These filter type options also changes depending on what kind of data type you're using. In case of categorical data, you will get three filter options. One is advanced filtering, one is basic filtering, one is top-in. Now, we would be discussing all this in detail, but just let's get started. What do you mean by filter? Let it be basic filtering. I don't want consumer. I'll remove the consumer. You can see consumer is unchecked. See, these filters will act like a filter condition, which you can do it in the transformation tab also, in the Power Query as well. In the Power Query, I'll go back to the segment column. Where is that segment? Here in the segment column, I'll click on this drop down. If you uncheck corporate or if you uncheck the consumer here, the consumer segment, and I'm only selecting corporate and home office. See, in that case, if I apply this change would be automatically reflected in the front end. The filtering would be done here itself in the Power Query. In the front end, you will not be able to see consumer column. But if you want all three columns here visible, only for certain visual, I want to remove that consumer. I want to remove that consumer segment. In that case, filters are the best fit. Somewhere in other visual, you can use a consumer. But if you uncheck consumer option here itself, that consumer option would not be enabled in the front end. So whatever filter condition you're doing it in the Power Query, it is always recommended if that filter or if that column is not at all used in any visual, only in that case you can filter the data in Power Query. If you want this consumer column to be used in multiple visuals, but in any of the visual, if you want to remove it, then in that case, filter is the best option. It is filtering the data. It will filter out this consumer, only corporate and home office. It will try to give you an insights. So this is filter on visual. This is filter on a one single visual. You're focusing on filter on visual. Now, you have seen consumer is not available. If you want to clean this, whatever filter condition you have done, see there is a rubber like icon. This is your clear filter. Rubber means you are rubbing something, you are coming back to normal. Clear filter, if I click on this, filters are getting cleared. You can see all the options, all the segments which are getting enabled or which are available. Now coming down, what do you mean by filter on all the pages? Or filter on this page, not all the pages. Let's come down to the second, which is filter on this page. Now I'll take one more condition. There are two visuals. If you want to filter consumer, see there is consumer in this also, this visual as well, and there is consumer in this visual as well. You want to filter out consumer in both the visuals. In that case, what you have to do for both the visuals, you can go back. You can change it to you want to uncheck consumer, uncheck the consumer. Here also on this visual, click on this visual, go to your segment filter, select all, uncheck the consumer. Now you can do it easily. But if you're working on a report or a dashboard where there are 15 to 10, 20 different visuals used in one single page, in that case, filter on every visual is a bit confusing because you want to filter segment in all the visuals of that single page. In that case, what is the best fit? Let me clear the filter. Let me clear the filter. Here, in that case, you can use filter on this complete page. You want to apply filter on the complete page, drag and drop. See here, filter on this page, there is no column. Why? Because you have only dragged and dropped the columns for a visual. But if you want to filter on the complete page, on which column you want to use a filter, get this segment here. You have to drag and drop. Here also you are getting basic filtering. You can select all, uncheck the consumer. See, you can see the magic. The consumer itself is getting disabled for both the visuals. That means we are using filter on a complete page. So whatever visuals are present in this single page, filter on all the pages. I mean, filter on all the visuals which will apply for this single page. So this is filter on this page. And if I use filter on all the pages, if you want to remove filter on this page, if you want to remove this segment column which you have dragged and dropped, there is a remove filter option. That column would be automatically removed. Here you will not get that cross icon. Why? Because these are already columns. These are some values which you have dragged and dropped into visual. Without these columns, not unless you uncheck this column, the segment will not go from here. But in case of filter on page, if you drag and drop, this is with respect to current page. You can remove this filter also. Now, apart from remove, apart from clear, clear would be only available when you select something. If you're selecting something, only in that case, clear filter would be enabled. Now, if the values are more, you can search that value also. The number of values are more. If there are in column, there are 1000 different values and you want to filter out certain 2 or 3 values, you can search that. You can filter it out here. You can search. There is a search bar also available. Now, apart from clear, apart from remove, there are 2 more conditions here in filter. One is hide filter. Now, what do you mean by hide? You as a developer, you should know that there is filter applied on this visual. But if you're trying to publish this report to the front end, that front end person should not be able to see this filter tab enabled. Or probably if this filter tab is also enabled in the front end, whenever you publish, he should not be able to see what filter condition you have applied. That is not the end user's primary goal is. His goal is to just view how many visuals are there, how the business is going. But as a developer, you should be able to see, in that case, if you want to hide this filter, you can hide it here. See, if I hide this, even though I'm hiding, I'm able to see here in the desktop. But if I publish this to Power BI service, there you will not be able to see any filter like segment. So this hiding option is kept in such a way that end user should not see what kind of filters are applied. In that case, you can use this hide filter option. As a developer, you will be able to see this. But if you want to hide it in the front end while you publish it to Power BI service, in that case, you can hide this filter. If you want to again show it back, show filter. For us, there won't be any impact. But if you publish it to service, there would be definitely a hide and unhide option there. If you hide this, this filter will not be enabled. If you unhide this, this filter would be enabled. Now this option is not, if I go down, here also this option is available. You want to uncheck if you have used some filter condition in the table visual, I mean the visual option, filter visual only, you can hide this filter. Now there is one more condition. Let me show you. In practical, you will get a better understanding. For the people who doesn't have email IDs for now, there aren't any email IDs shared with you. So you would not be able to log in or you would not be able to publish this report. For now, I'm not saying for a longer duration. Next week, by end of next week or probably by mid of next week, your email IDs would be generated and it would be shared with you. So for now, I would be giving you an idea how this hide and hide. And there is one more option, lock filter. This will work. How this will work, that I'll give you an idea. See, I've used a segment filter on this page. Let me go to Home tab. I'll publish this report. In the Home tab at the end, there is an option called as share. In that share, there is an option called as publish. Publish means you are publishing this report to the front-end Power BI service where multiple users can access via website or a cloud. Let me publish this. Now, Do not ask me a question that I cannot publish it, I cannot log in it. For now, you cannot do this. Just to give you an idea, I'm trying to publish this. Let me open this report here in the Power BI service. See, if I publish this here in publish, this is only just view. You cannot do any development here. Development can be done here in the desktop version. So multiple options are not there here. Only you can view the report, whatever report you have developed. If I go back to the page 4, this is how a report will look like. And there is always a filter tab option available in the Power BI service. If I go to the page 3, you can see I have used a filter on segment on this page, that what it is trying to convey. I have unchecked this consumer. So if you're publishing the report with filter as enabled, filter is not hidden, filter is visible here. In that case, any user can come, he can check this option. If he checks in that option, the consumer will come back. Now, this is drawback. As a developer, you have a flexibility, you can handle everything. But if you're publishing it and if the end user or the stakeholder is coming and is checking this option, sometimes it is not recommended to hide filters also. You can still hide, but sometimes it is not recommended to do hide filters. But most of the times it is recommended whenever you're using a filter, you should hide it and publish it. For now, it is not hidden. But if I hide this, it is hidden. I'll publish it. It is asking me to save again. Why? Because there is a change. And I'll select that same workspace. Let this dashboard republish. It got republished. Let me refresh this page. See, that filter would be disabled here. There aren't any filters to display. Why? Because I have unchecked that filter. I have hide that filter. Now, even though if you do not hide this filter, I'm not hiding it, but I'll lock this. Lock means, see, as a developer, you can do. As a developer, you can do it here. But if I have locked this filter and I'll publish it, let's see what is the change there. See, you can see that filter, but you cannot change it. You cannot edit it. You have locked that filter. Filter is locked. I cannot unlock it here also. If you want to unlock this, if you want to unlock this, come down to the desktop. You have to unlock it here only and then republish it. Only then filter would be unlocked in the Power BI service. You can see there is a filter. There is a filter on this page, which I mean, we haven't applied, but if I apply and publish it, or is it applied? Yes, it seems it's applied. You can see there is no option to check this. There is a filter which is applied. Segment is not consumer. It is giving you an idea that there is a filter applied on this segment on this complete page where consumer is not selected, but you cannot edit it. Filter is locked. So these options are enabled for developer, but if you want to hide it, you can hide it. You want to lock it. You want to make sure this filter is visible, but no one should select and unselect this option. You can lock it. Or else if you don't want hide, if you don't want to lock it, you can directly publish it. Anyone can come, anyone can change it here. It depends on what kind of usage, what kind of publish you are using, and how you have been recommended by client. You have to follow certain client rules there. So all these options are available in case of filters. Now we have seen filters on visual, we have seen filters on this page, filters on all the pages means if you apply a filter on a single page also, but if you are using filter on all the pages, if let me unlock, I'll remove this. I'll get this segment here. See, I'm applying filter on all the pages for segment. I'll select, I'll uncheck this consumer. In this page 3, there is no consumer. If I go to page 4, there is no consumer. You can see still there is no consumer. Here also there is no consumer. Corporate and home office is there. So wherever there is a use of segment, it will uncheck that consumer option on all the pages. Irrespective of single, irrespective of multiple pages you have in a report, filter on all the pages means it will apply that filter on all the pages. On all the pages. Now, if I go above, filter on all the pages is working. If I select any visual, If I select segment here, you cannot see consumer here. Why? Because you have used filter on all the pages. Here itself, the filter condition is working. That is the reason on a visual also you will not be able to see consumer level option available. So this is how the filter works, and filter plays an important role because you can use filter on a visual, filter on a page, filter on all the pages rarely used, but still they have kept that option because you want to filter something on all the pages, you can filter it out using this option, filter on all the pages. Any questions related to filter? Cool. If there are no questions, let me clear this. So we have still 30 minutes. Now I'll cover the two important visuals. The visuals are part of second row. One is line chart and one is area chart. Where do we use this? I'll take a line chart. See, everything is same here. X-axis is there, Y-axis is there. In case of line chart, you will get one more benefit. Wherever there is a line chart, mentioning of line chart, you will get one more benefit. It is secondary Y-axis. I might have highlighted the importance at the starting of sessions, maybe day 2, where you'll get what you mean by X-axis, what you mean by Y-axis. In case of secondary Y-axis will come towards right. This is Y, this is X, and this is secondary Y. Towards left is Y, below is X, and towards right is secondary Y. Now, where to use this line chart? That is big question. Where to use this line chart? Let me take this, paste it here. I'll change it to column chart, which looks more interesting. Let me compress. Bars are very high. Now, if you see, this is profits by year. I'll use the same condition. In case of X-axis, I will use year. In case of Y-axis, I'll use, what is this profit? One advantage, as I've said, in case of line chart, you will get secondary Y-axis. You're also getting legend. You can use a legend. Now, what is legend here? Legend is a segment. I can use a segment. So for every segment, you can see a different line is available. A different line is available. And if you want one advantage which I've shared, secondary y-axis, apart from profit, you also want to compare what is the discount you have given. Take this discount in the secondary y-axis. Now, if I'm dragging, sorry, I have removed it. Right. See, if I'm dragging discount, it is not taking. That column is not getting enabled. Why? In case if you're using a line chart, either you can use x-axis, y-axis or secondary y-axis, or else you can use x-axis, y-axis and a legend. Not all 4 conditions together. You cannot use all 4 conditions together. If I remove this segment and if I take a discount, now it will take. But it will not take legend. Now, if I'm taking segment, it will not take a legend. Either 3 of them will work. X and Y axis are compulsion. You have to take some values here. But in case of secondary Y and legend, either of them you have to take. Only then line chart will work. Now, the question is, if this information cannot be represented in a column chart or a bar chart. You cannot take both profit and discount together, club together. This you can take in a line chart. See, you are comparing the light blue is for sum of profit and dark blue is for discount. What is the discount? And axes are different. You can see for profit, the values are starting from 40K to 100K, whereas from discount is starting from 300 to 500, not even 1000. So whenever you are comparing these two values, light should be compared towards sum of profit, which is left axis, and darker shade or sum of discount should be compared towards right, secondary y axis. Now the question, where do we use this line chart? See, there are certain use cases. Now, one of the use case you might have seen, if you have seen any launch of a satellite in ISRO, they'll always have a screen which is enabled at their end, where the information is somewhat like this. If there is a they have launched a rocket or they have launched some satellite. Now, how do they calculate what amount of journey it has traveled in next 5 minutes and next few minutes, or how many what is the distance it has traveled since the time of launch? They'll try to describe it using a certain visual. Now, this is the computer screen, and if they are trying to give you an idea, something like this they'll use. Something like this they'll use. So what this line chart is signifying, this line chart has started from low, it is reaching its high, it is wherever it is coming down again, it will come down. So that means there is a dip here, it is again increasing, there is a peak here. Okay, now it has again come down. So with this line chart, they are trying to analyze what is our current state and how is it going from current state till whatever state it is going, how that specific value is trying to travel. This is with respect to ISRO. If you take an example of Sensex, your share market, even for a share market, trend is given like this. Something like this, there is some trend. It is increasing, it is decreasing. Now that trend, why? If your share has increased, it has reached its peak, it will peak at some at point. If it is coming down, it will reach that lowest point also. So with this highest point, lowest point, it is very easy to determine what is our business strategy, how can we improve, what is the highest point, what is the lowest point. In case of column chart and bar chart, yes, you can still analyze it, but here it is very difficult. Here it is very difficult. Whereas in case of line chart, it is very easy to understand this is the highest value and this is where you are at the lowest condition. So line chart has a separate use case. Now the question is line chart, here in this line chart, this looks more a kind of white space available. There is more a kind of white space left. If you compare it with column chart or a bar chart, the color combination is very good here. It is trying to completely fill that complete column or a bar. In case of line chart, that option is not there. That option is not there. But line chart is straightforward. You are only checking the trend, whether it's an upward trend, how is it increasing, where is it exactly peaking, at what is the highest point, and how is it coming down, or whether it is maintaining a stable growth. All that information can be analyzed here. But in case of line chart, there is more a kind of white space here. Let me format this visual to the same condition. I'll use a format painter and I'll format this. See, data labels are enabled. Now the line chart looks more interesting. I've used only formatting. With the below visual, I've used formatting. Clicked on this visual, use format, and I've clicked this brush here. Automatically, the visual got changed. All the values which are enabled here, that are also enabled. Now, more a kind of white space is there. If you think this white space is not that great, sometimes people do think. There is one more visual next to line chart, that is area chart. Click on this line chart. I'll change this line chart to the area chart. This is our area chart. This is our area chart. Area chart, there is no white space. You can see the area is completely covered with a certain color. Darker shade is for discount. It should be vice versa because values which are greater, that means profit is greater, but discount is lower. If you take that shades in that manner, if I come down, if I change the colors, ideally darker shade should be for highest values. Now in that case, I'll come down to lines. For sum of profit, I'll take a lighter shade. For sum of discount, I'll take a darker shade. Sorry. Anyways, it was a darker shade. This should be darker. This should be lighter shade. Now what I'll do, let me uncheck that first. This is our previous visual. I'll take a copy of this. I'll paste it down. Let's remove this visual. Let us compare it here. I'll change the formatting of this visual. Ideally, darker shade should be for the larger values. I'll come down to lines, color. So if you compare both the visuals, which visual is looking good? The above visual or the below visual? Or maybe I'll place it next to next. You'll get an idea. Which visual is looking good? Either towards left or either towards right. I want answers from you.
Left
Right
right
one.
side. Right one.
Why right one?
The color is darker on the top, which is higher profit.
See, that is the logic. But I don't want logic. Only look at the visual. See, if you compare the visuals, the left visual is more clear, crystal clear. You need not focus. See, what is this area chart? Area chart will cover everything. What it is trying to do, it is covering the complete sum of sales or sum of profit by complete darker shade. Above that, sum of discount is coming. So that is the reason sum of discount is getting merged with that color. Okay, we might, for our eyes, it is visible that there is a lighter shade for sum of discount and there is a darker shade for sum of profit. But ideally, this is the perfect condition. Sum of discount is above sum of profit. It should not be. See, the shades are not that great here. Visibility of that shades, if I get to the focus mode, here that shade, you will not be able to differentiate. Somewhat both are looking same. I'll go back to the report. If I use this focus mode, this is more crystal clear. Now, why am I trying to explain this is, in case of area chart, the area will be covered with the shade. But whenever you are using an area chart, it is always recommended you use the perfect shades. You use the perfect shades. If you are not using a perfect shade, then it will mess up. Okay, maybe our shades are lighter and darker. If there are multiple shades which are available, go down. See, in the lines option, these options are there. See, there is line type also. What kind of line you want? You want a linear. Points are highlighted in linear. You want smooth, it's straightforward curve line. You want step. Step lines are also available. You can change your line chart, you can change your area chart as per your requirement. This is stepped line chart. This is stepped area chart. I'll go back to your formatting. I'll click on lines. These options are enabled here. Let it be linear. You have an option to change the color, shade area. In case of shade area, what is the transparency you want? Complete transparency. No transparency. You want this to be in a darker shade. This is how this area chart will look. Now, if I use a transparency to 0 here, are you able to see anything? Data labels are not enabled. These are enabled, but you are unable to see that data labels. Now, if you compare which chart is best, the chart towards left is easy to understand. Ideally, there should be transparency whenever you're using. Transparency means your shade should be somewhat lighter in condition. And default, it will take some 60, which is recommended. For area chart, default should be 50 or 60 because transparency will help us differentiating the colors. And whenever you're using an area chart, do not go with higher value, darker shade. No, the darker shade should be the lowest condition here. Higher shade should be the light condition. That is the primary behavior of a area chart. And in case of area chart also, you will get that same options like a line chart. Secondary y-axis is also there. If you use these three, you cannot use legend. But if you use x-axis, y-axis, and legend, you cannot use secondary y-axis. That is how it works. Now, if I remove this secondary y-axis and I'm using segment here, where is that segment? I'll use a segment in legend. Now it's more interesting. More the number of segments or more the number of legend conditions. Segment is anyways 3 conditions. But if I take category here, there are only 3 categories where there are more than 7 or 8 conditions that I want. Okay, let me take subcategory. Do you think this is readable? Okay, the visual looks interesting. Visual is more, but the data is not understanding. Now, in this case, can we try to make this visual more easily readable? Can we? Let's come down to the lines. You have an option called as color shade. Tables is at the highest location or maybe at the highest condition. After tables, what is it? No, it is getting alphabetically arranged. This blue color is accessories. Purple color is book. Not book, it is binders first. After binders, it is art. See, that is how complex this visual has become. If I hover on this, there is a tooltip value also. Even this tooltip shades, I'm trying to match it with my eye. I'm unable to guess. See, in case of area chart, whenever you're using, legend should not have more than 7 or 8 conditions. Even 7 or 8 will mess up. If I change back to line chart, okay, line chart is still okay. It is not that confusing because it is not covering that area. Shades of lines are okay. But shades of lines along with that area, it's a bit confusing. This is a bit confusing. This is kind of easier. Now you want to change the shades, you can still make this chart readable. You can still make this chart readable with the help of lighter shades. You can use one single shade, go back to your lines, take any one color, and you can use that shades here. Probably I'll take blue. This is darker shade. After that, there is a table. Let's see. Is it a table or what is it? It is accessories. Accessories, second light shade. After accessories, there is this purple color line, which is binders and art. So I'll take binders with this shade, art with this shade. So somewhere I'm trying to use a lighter shades of same blue color. You can still use that. Let's see how it goes. I'm trying to set up few values for blue. What are the options? See, still if I'm trying to do number of legends or number of partitions are more. So that is the reason it is very difficult. If I remove this subcategory, wherever partitions are up to 6 or 7, it's okay. If it is more than that, then it's more a kind of confusing. So recommended is whenever you're using a legend, as I've said, use better partitions. Number of partitions and more, that is of no use. Now, in case of segment, colors are messing up. Now you can take a chance, come down to your lines, change the shades. Whatever shade you want, ideally at the highest level, shades should be lower in case. At the highest level, shades should be lower in case or the lighter shade. Which of this is the first? First is the consumer, second is the corporate, and third is the home office. So first is the consumer, it should be of lighter shade. Then it's a corporate, second lighter shade, and then it's a home office. Now it is easily readable. This goes same with a line chart also. Line chart will not make an impact because it is not a covering area. It is only trending. It is giving you a trend. Here you can interchange the color as per your request or as per your condition. But if I specifically make it for area chart, it is covering an area, looks interesting, but highest value should have lighter shade, lowest value should have darker shade. Why? Because the colors are overlapping one above other. And now the question is, where do we use line chart and area chart? See, as I've said, there are few use cases. If they want to see the trend of their business, always go with line chart. And in line chart, as I've said, there is one more advantage which you get. Either you use a legend. If you're not interested in legend, you can use secondary y-axis where you can use one more numerical condition. I can compare sum of profit here and I can compare sum of sales here. Let me change the colors, lines, color, sales should be darker in shade and profit should be lighter in shade. See, wherever there is, now you can compare the information here. In 2016, sales was 4,64,000, profit was 49,000, and axes are different. Our tendency is we will always go towards left axis only. For secondary y-axis, that means for secondary line which you have taken, which is profit, which is lighter in shade. If you are comparing profit, you should compare this axis. Now this axis is not correctly formatted. Let me go down to secondary y-axis, go down to values. Let me make values big. I'll use a bold. I'll come down to title. Color should be bolded shade. Let me take a darker blue. How is it? It has taken darker condition. Let me see. Now it looks good. Now you can see this visual is looking good. Now, whenever you are trying to compare, you should compare. Now our legend is at the bottom condition. Let me make legend to the upper condition, top left. Sum of sales is darker line, and you can easily analyze wherever sales was high, the profit is also increasing. The profit is also, even though there's a dip of sales in 2018 and 19, but still profit has increased. That is one advantage of using a line chart. Same goes with area chart. That is the only difference between line chart and area chart. It will cover an area. That's it. It is trying to cover an area. There is no such, complete difference. It's just a covering area. Line chart and area chart, both are kind of similar. Yep, Anand, you have a question, it seems.
So, yeah, I was trying to add the secondary y-axis. It's not showing up for some reason. If I check the column, it automatically is going into tooltips instead of going into secondary y-axis. So I cannot
Have
drag
you
it.
used a legend?
What is that?
Have you used a legend there?
Yes, I have used a legend there.
Whatever
So
I've explained up till now, have you got it? If you
yes,
want to use area chart and line chart, let me, it's just a sarcasm. If you're using x-axis, y-axis, you can use secondary y-axis, but you cannot use legend. See, if I'm trying to drag and drop anything in a legend, I cannot use it.
okay, okay.
Either of them you can use. Secondary y-axis you can use, or else you can use, if I uncheck this, you can use a segment. All four conditions cannot be used.
All right, got it, Ritesh. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. We kind of covered line chart, area chart. I will note down that x-axis, y-axis conditions. Maybe I'll share it with you. But just to get an idea how line chart, area chart works, I've given you a brief understanding. Not all photo conditions will work. And see, for now, do not focus on small multiples and tooltips. We would be discovering, or we would be covering this after all the visuals, because these are of very light use case. Small multiples, now anyways, if I use this would be confusing. For now, let it be only focus on x-axis, y-axis, legend, secondary y-axis, if you go to this pie chart, in pie chart, there is an option called as details. Details is nothing but your legend. It works like a legend. That's it. Nothing apart from, nothing different from legend. Any questions on the concepts which we have covered today, or any question not on today, up till now, last 5 days?
Hi, Ritesh.
Go ahead, Sneha.
Yeah, I wanted to know, for example, now only one option we have given, that year. So if we wanted to consider both year and month, could we do that?
Year and month, yeah, why not? I'll go back. I'll use year and month. Now the condition is, see, if I hover on this, I can able to see year and months, June, July, August, September, October, November. But whenever you take both the date conditions, the date hierarchy, both conditions here, or more than one condition, there are some drill up and drill down options. Now we are yet to touch this. We are yet to discover this. What do you mean by drill up and drill down? If I drill down, see, this is drill up option. This is at the year level hierarchy. If I drill down, this is combination of month. So drill up and drill down, it's easy to understand, but what does it signify? In the highest level, you can only see year. In the second level, you can see month. If you want a combination of both, this is combination of both.
Is there any option like to apply filter and show the month wise in the year, whichever we selected, like that?
You want to display months in between these values. That is what you're trying to say.
No, no, no. For example, now if the y-axis instead of year it was month, if you select particular year, it should show the month values in the x-axis.
That is what I'm trying to say. If this drill down option is getting enabled, if I click on 2016, it is going to 2016.
Okay.
There is an option. You can still go back and see, but that options are called as drill up and drill down. We are yet to touch that. Yes, there is an option available.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anand, you have a question?
Quick question. So I'm trying to find the colors for the shaded area on the chart.
Line.
I'm
Format
not-
lines.
So
Format,
okay.
come down to lines. Here you will get that option. Here in
The
colors.
line is the colors option.
Yep.
Again. Okay. But it just changing the color of the line, not the shade underneath it, right?
In case if you select area chart, then it will cover that area also. Line chart is only line. Area means it is covering that area.
I think the area chart. Okay.
Area chart, format, lines. And in visuals also, there are multiple options. See, there is an option called as markers. For this area chart and line chart, what do you mean by markers? The pointers at that specific, wherever x-axis is getting, for 2017, there are pointers. If you want these markers, you can add a marker. And you can change the color of markers also. You want marker with a blue shade? See, you can add a marker as well. You want this marker to be bigger in size? This is big in size. What kind of marker? Dotted marker, square like, diamond, triangular, cross, multiple options are there. Plus sign. Marker means at a pointer, at that specific pointer, what kind of information you want it to be highlighted, just like a point or a plus symbol. Usually it is recommended to go with either squares. Now the squares is very big in size. Probably I'll reduce that size, or else you can go with a dot, a circular representation. You want this to be more big in size, you can make this size 6 pixel. 7 pixel. Now this looks good. You want it to be different shade, take a different shade. And I would always recommend, see, if you are using this, recommended is data labels. If I uncheck this, data labels are gone. Markers are there. Data labels are labeling at that certain point, labeling at that certain marker condition. Now, what do you mean by zoom slider? Grid lines. What do you mean by grid lines? See, for this visual, there is a grid line in the background. If I go back to the focus mode, you can see there are grid lines. You want this grid lines to be enabled, it is always kept on. You can disable it. Grid lines are gone. Grid lines, vertical and horizontal grid lines are also there. I have off the horizontal left to right. If I off this vertical grid lines are also gone. If you want to off both the conditions, you can off both the conditions. Or you want both, you can disable, enable both. And you want these grid lines to be more darker in shade. You want to change that, you can use a darker color like black. Grid lines are easily visible. I'll go back to the report. You can see for this visual, grid lines are easily visible. And for certain visuals, client would recommend to use grid line. For certain, not all the visuals will get this option. For certain visuals, you'll get these grid lines enabled. Now you can increase the size of the grid lines also. Say darker in shade you want. You can use it in darker in shade. Now, apart from this grid line, there is one more option called as zoom slider. What do you mean by zoom slider? I'll keep it to on. This is the zoom slider. You want to zoom it something. I only want 2016. Up till 2016. Yeah, you can take up to this. So this is zoom in, zoom out slider. Zoom in, zoom out means it is zooming the axis. This is zooming the axis. You want only the information up to 3 lakhs or 2 lakhs. You can only zoom it up to that point. So there are multiple options which are available in this formatting or visual, and this zoom slider is not available for all the visuals. This is only specific to certain set of visuals, maybe area chart and line chart only. If I go back to this page, I'll use this. I'll go to format. Okay, here also zoom slider is there. But this is only available for y-axis, not for x-axis. Only for y-axis. So this zoom slider is there, but it is with respect to visual, what kind of visual you're using and where and how many options are enabled for it. So I would always recommend to go back and explore all these options. So in case of column chart, there is one more option called as a ribbon. If I on this, what do you mean by ribbon? It is giving you the trend from this west region. Corporate segment was 34,437. It is coming down to 23,623. So that come down is also highlighted in the background. The shade is lighter in shade. The ribbon is lighter in shade. Apart from this ribbon, there is one more chart called as the ribbon chart here. At the last, there is one more chart called as ribbon chart. Ribbon chart will almost look similar like this. We would be discussing in detail where do we use this ribbon chart. But for now, only in case of column chart also, this ribbon option is enabled. This will give you the trend, whether it is increasing, whether it is decreasing. And you can give the transparency also. You want this to be more lighter shade, you can take this in lighter shade. You want to be same matching shade, 0% transparency. Usually it is taken up to 50% transparency. Only flow you want. Match color series, if I keep off, there is no color which is enabled. Only that ribbon is getting continued, but this is not that good. You can take some other color also. Yeah, this color, probably some other shade, blue shade. So there are multiple formatting options for each and every visual. I would recommend to go back and see what all options are enabled. If some of the options are not, okay, total labels. These are total summation of values. Almost every format option you will be able to get it easily. And these options are changing with respect to visual. This will not remain same. Ribbon is not available in area chart. maybe in line chart. So it varies. Visual to visual, the condition varies. See, not with respect to today's session, also any random question. Now, Ankush is there. Yeah, Ankush had a question that Ankush, you want to, I mean, you want to have expertise in what, in case of Power BI, you want an expertise, or in case of data engineering, you want an expertise? Just a
Uh,
question.
so
Don't take.
Ritesh, basically, maybe I'll just give you a brief about me. So I have 14 years into BI and data warehousing. So
Mhm.
I was just looking for, you can say, I'm not sure it is a vertical growth or a horizontal growth, you would say. But yeah, I was looking something to change, like because completely I'm into reporting domain. So when I inquired the market and I just did some analysis, I found out like the as of now the Synapse Analytics and Data Factory and this Power Platform in a short. So everybody is talking about. So just considering the same in my mind, I thought of enrolling. So maybe you can just clarify this, or maybe if you need, maybe we can connect after this session as well.
Okay, I got you. I guess you also had a question on the day one or day two, whether what is best fit. See,
Correct.
for your experience, 14 years, probably you would be expecting 30 LPA minimum. And that is common. That should be there. If you're expecting 30 LPA for only Power BI and Azure, there is a hard pause of 25 to 28. Anything more than that, if you're expecting, you should know in depth of engineering details. There, the best program would be data engineering. We have a different course. There, no reporting is covered. Pure end-to-end Synapse, pure end-to-end Databricks, pure end-to-end Hadoop related aspects. Anything related to data engineering would be covered end-to-end there. Now, this course is slightly different. Anyways, you're trying to say you're a part of data reporting, or you're doing this reporting since long. Reporting is totally different. Yeah. Now, the coming to the course, what I would be covering is, see, I would be covering end-to-end of ADF completely. Now the question comes, whether would I be covering Synapse and Databricks end to end? See, Synapse and Databricks end to end is recommended for data engineering. If you learn Databricks and Synapse within 1 month, it is not possible. Okay, accepted. I would give you the insights related to Databricks and Synapse. But what is covered in this course is, if you know ADF, how to use bulk data processing. In case of ADF also, there is one drawback. Power Query cannot handle large data. That is why we are going back to ETL tool, which is ADF. Even in ADF, if the data is in 1 terabytes, 1 petabytes, ADF will also take much time to or process that data. If you want to reduce that size, you have to come down to the Databricks, where Databricks will break the data in parallel processing units, and it will parallelly process the data. So Databricks can be clubbed with ADF. In ADF, there are multiple logics. So there is one logic of Databricks also. Now, Databricks is breaking the data and parallelly processing the data, right? So it will help us to process 1 terabyte, 1 petabytes of data easily with help of ADF pipelines. Now, coming down to Synapse, what do you mean by Synapse? Synapse is a combination of ADF, SQL Server, Databricks, and storage account. Now, why Synapse is recommended is, if you want to create, if you want to have a ADF pipeline, if you want to use Databricks notebooks, if you want to use SQL databases as a source or destination, or if you want to use ADLS or storage account as a source or destination, rather than creating each and every service separately, only create one single Synapse workspace. Whenever you are creating a Synapse workspace, all these services will be automatically created in one single environment, rather than creating all services separately. If you create every service would be separately created, and you have to manage every service independently. But if you create a Synapse workspace, it will create all the services in one single environment, just like Fabric. Fabric is a combination of all these services in one single umbrella. Synapse is not, it is somewhat similar like Fabric only. Whenever you create a Synapse, it will ask you to create SQL Server. It will ask you to create storage account. It will defaultly give you access for ADF pipelines. It will defaultly give you access for Databricks notebooks as well. So that is the primary aim. Our course will cover how these services will help a data analyst to process bulk data. It will not able to cover, or maybe we would not be able to cover complete data engineering stack. Data engineering, and I might have also highlighted for your experience, I guess data engineering, I'm not guessing also, I'm straightforward saying data engineering is the best suitable platform. Okay, if you want to learn Power BI along with Azure Stack, then this is correct course. But if you want to learn end-to-end engineering, then data engineering is the perfect course for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ritesh. So actually, what like I was thinking to have the Power BI as well in my stack. Like I already know MicroStrategy and I have worked on Power BI as well, but long back, around
Mhm.
4 or 5 years back. And
Okay.
now I was just planning to switch the company. So I see in the market like everybody is expecting, especially out of India, they are
Mhm.
expecting Power BI. And apart from that, they are expecting like Synapse and Data Factory and all. So
Then
that's why I
this
thought,
is feasible. This course is feasible for you. Then this course is the right fit. Okay, if you want to learn end-to-end engineering, that is
hmm,
completely different. There won't be any Power BI there.
correct, correct. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ritesh.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Harish. I am.
Okay,
I
Manan,
also
yeah.
have a 9 years of experience in HR analytics. So I use Power BI, and I want to learn more like Azure Data Factory and Databricks. However, in my company we have AWS instead of Azure
Mhm.
as a cloud. So if I learn Azure Data Factory, will I be able to learn other cloud ETL tool like AWS Glue easily, or I have to learn it separately?
Okay, now coming to the picture, Azure has its own behavior, AWS has its own behavior. Okay, the cloud structure will work similar. If you learn any ETL tool, logics are different, but the primary idea behind you ETL tool is same. If you just I'll give you a comparison. There is this pipeline. This is your source. This is your activity here. There are logics. These are all the logics. Logic 1, logic 2, logic 3. Now, what all these logics are? This is active. Logic is called as activity here. There are multiple activities with every process, there is a copy activity, there is a delete activity, there is a push activity, there is a stop activity, there is run SQL activity. So there are multiple activities which are present. Activity means you can write a logic in that activity. And at the end, there is a destination. For source and destination also, you have to use, there is a concept called as data set. Source data set, destination or a target data set. And if you want to connect source, I mean, destination means you have to dump it somewhere and you want to, I mean, if you are dumping it somewhere, you want to connect to that target. In order to connect the target, you need to create a data set. And how do you connect it? There is a concept called as linked service, which is linking the final step, final logic with the destination or the target. And at the source also, whenever you create a source data set, that means you are getting some data from a source. How do you get that? How do you connect that? There is a concept called as linked service. Linked service is nothing but like a key. It is just a key. It will go to that source with that linked service. It will open that source and it will get that information in a one single data set. From that data set, you can write multiple activities or multiple logics. This is ADF. If you compare it with Informatica, in Informatica, there are multiple logics similar like ADF. That logics are called as transformations. The wording is different. That are called as transformations. And at the end, whenever you are dumping to the destination, there is also At the start, there is a source qualifier, SQ. What do you mean by source qualifier? It is just like data set. It will convert the data from wherever you're loading it to Informatica to Informatica standard format. Here also in ADF, what is the ideal behavior of data set? If data is coming from multiple sources, it will convert that data into ADF feasible format. That is the idea of a data set. Here in Informatica, it is source qualifier. It will convert that data into source qualifier format, and then you can write multiple logics, which are called as transformations. Pipeline is same. Whenever you connect multiple activities, source and target, that is called as pipeline. And this is common in both the cases. Whenever you connect source qualifier, whenever you connect target, whenever you connect multiple transformations with one single pipeline, that is called as a pipeline. So logic behind ETL tools are same. This is comparison of ADF and Informatica. In AWS also, same process works, but the usefulness is slightly different. If you want to learn ADF, then it is a totally different course. And in ADF, I'm trying to say if you want to learn AWS, specifically Amazon Web Services related services, in that case, that would be slightly different. Logic is same, idea is same, but the background information will be slightly different because whatever you write in
It's like
Informatica cannot be. What?
it's like learning Tableau and Power BI, because initially I
Yep, yep.
started with Tableau and later on I switched to Power BI because of the market requirement. So I think it's
I'm
same.
I'm not sure. I mean, to be frank, how your organization is recommended to use AWS with Power BI, because one who uses Power BI, it is always recommended, or mostly they'll go with Azure on.
Okay, in my actually we are now we currently we are Informatica heavy, but we have decided to move to AWS. Instead of using Informatica, we are moving towards AWS cloud.
Okay. Cool.
So
Maybe
we
you
are what
also have.
we are, yeah. We said Informatica is legacy. Now we want to move to cloud. So everything is moving towards cloud from legacy system.
And you were are you using Informatica server or you are using IICS?
Server we were using. So now we are moving towards cloud.
Oh, got you. Informatica has also moved out to cloud. Earlier, Informatica was server. It was you have
Actually,
to
I don't know
install.
why, but the management has taken decision. It's a and we are sunset to Informatica now, move towards cloud, AWS cloud.
Okay. And you are using reporting for as a Power BI.
Yes, actually, we take data with the help of data engineering team. They do all the cleaning part. But my manager has suggested that we will we will decentralize the data. So for HR data, you have to learn ETL in AWS Glue as well.
See, logics will remain same, but as I've said, there are few certain name changes. Whatever you write in Informatica cannot be written in ADF. In ADF, it has to be written in a different manner. So that is the changes which you will experience here. In case of ADF and AWS ETL also.
I think if logic is same, then it's okay, because once you learn a tool, I think you can as I gave you example, like I learned Tableau, then I moved to Power BI. It's like the tools are different, but once you know the logic, you can learn easily.
Logic, idea, yes, you can learn it.
So great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I guess silence, I'm taking it as no. If there are no questions, let's wind up for today. Have a good weekend.